Good morning, students of class ninth. This is your science class. I hope you all are staying healthy at your places. In today's session, we will continue lesson number 14, that is natural resources. This chapter consists of 3 videos and this is video number 3. In this, we will study about various biogeochemical cycles. In this video, we will cover the topic biogeochemical cycles, that is the water cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the carbon cycle and the oxygen cycle. Now students, from this part of unit 4, that is natural resources, every student has to prepare a brief write-up on any one concept. That means each and every student has to prepare one brief write-up. एक टॉपिक के ऊपर आपने राइटअप बनाना है. This will be portfolio for internal assessment. This portion will not be assessed in the year-end examination. That means कि आपको इस चैप्टर के क्वेश्चन आंसर्स करने की बिल्कुल ज़रूरत नहीं है, कोई नोट्स बनाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. जस्ट यू हैव टू मेक वन राइटअप. In case of any doubt, you may send it to the class email address, which is class 9th vips ldh@gmail.com. Click a picture of your doubt and convert it in PDF form and mail it to above given address. Biogeochemical cycles. First of all, I would like to introduce this definition to you. The repeated circulation of nutrient elements through the living and non-living components of biosphere is known as biogeochemical cycles. This is self-explaining word. Bio means living, geo means non-living component, and chemical means reaction between these two living and non-living components. Now, this bio is the living component, so it is considered as biotic, and geo is non-living component, and so it is considered as abiotic components. Now, there are 4 important biogeochemical cycles in nature. They are water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, and oxygen cycle. Water cycle. It is also known as hydrological cycle. The process of evaporation of water, it's falling on land as rain and then flowing into the sea, is called water cycle. First of all, any cycle that you will take as your write-up, it should contain a diagram in the cyclic form. Now, various steps in the water cycle. First is evaporation. Water evaporates from oceans, river, lakes, canals, ponds, etc. Plants lose a lot of water in vapor form, which is called transpiration, and animals lose water as sweat and through respiration. Next is condensation. Water vapors rise up, cool, and condense to form clouds. And the third step is precipitation. On coming in contact with cold air, the water droplets precipitate and produce rain. Now we see this water cycle in the form of diagram. This is the water cycle in nature. Now see, this is evaporation of water. That means water evaporate from sea, ocean, lakes, river, from any water resource. And plants, they also lose water in the form of vapors, which is called transpiration, and animal lose water in the form of sweat and respiration. Now this water which is evaporated, it rises up and it cools and condenses to form the clouds. This is called second step, which is condensation. And next step is precipitation. This means on coming in contact with cold air, these water droplets and clouds precipitate and produce rain, which is called precipitation. That means this water again come back on the earth and it again evaporates, and then condense, and then precipitate. This is the water cycle that you have to show in your write-up. And next cycle that we will study is nitrogen cycle. The cyclic process by which nitrogen is circulated continuously through the living and non-living components of the biosphere is called the nitrogen cycle. The various steps involved in nitrogen cycle are as follows. The first step is nitrogen fixation. This is the first step. It is the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into water-soluble compounds, nitrates and nitrites, either by free-living bacteria or rhizobium that are found in the root nodules of legumes. Atmospheric nitrogen also get converted into nitrates and nitrites naturally by the lightning. It means the first step is nitrogen fixation. In this step, the atmospheric nitrogen is converted into nitrates and nitrites. And this atmospheric nitrogen, it gets converted into nitrates and nitrites naturally by lightning. Next is ammonification. Next step number 2 is ammonification. Death and decay of plants release ammonia into the atmosphere. Animals give out ammonia along with urea and uric acid as excretory products. These nitrogenous compounds are converted into ammonia by a putrefying bacteria, and this process is known as ammonification. That means in this process, that is ammonification, the nitrates and nitrites which were formed in first step, which is nitrogen fixation, they are converted to ammonia by putrefying bacteria, and this process is called ammonification. Third step is nitrification. Ammonia is then converted first into nitrites and then into nitrates by nitrifying bacteria. The process is known as nitrification. Fourth and last step is denitrification. When the animal or the plant dies, denitrifying bacteria in the soil convert the various compounds of nitrogen back into nitrates, nitrites and nitrates. The nitrates and nitrites are converted into elemental nitrogen by pseudomonas. This process is called denitrification. In this word, pseudomonas, P is silent, but you have to write P. Now, I'll show you the diagram of nitrogen cycle. This is diagrammatic representation of nitrogen cycle. It is given in your NCERT books on page number 198. Now, we are starting from here. Nitrogen in atmosphere. It is fixed by nitrogen fixing bacteria or rhizobium, which are found in root nodules of legumes. And I have also told you that atmospheric nitrogen, it get converted into nitrates and nitrites naturally by lightning. Now that means it is directly converted into nitrates and nitrites. Now next is ammonification, death of the animals and plants release ammonia into the atmosphere, and animals give out ammonia along with urea and uric acid excretory products, and the nitrogenous compounds are converted to ammonia by putrefying bacteria, and this process is called ammonification. This is step number 2. This is step 1, nitrogen fixation. This is step 2, ammonification. Now third step is nitrification. Now the ammonia is then converted first into nitrites and then into nitrates by nitrifying bacteria. The process is called nitrification. And fourth step is denitrification, which is given over here. This is denitrification. When the animals or plants die, the denitrifying bacteria in the soil convert various compounds of nitrogen back into nitrites and nitrates. The nitrates and nitrites, then they are converted back into the nitrogen by pseudomonas. This process is called denitrification. It means these nitrates and nitrites, they are converted back into nitrogen, elemental nitrogen, which is present in atmosphere, and this process is called denitrification. Now, are you clear with the four steps? First is nitrogen fixation, second is ammonification, third is nitrification, and the fourth one is denitrification. Now, next cycle is carbon cycle. This is the continuous exchange of carbon dioxide, CO2, between living and non-living components. The cyclic flow of carbon between non-living environment and the living organisms of biosphere is called carbon cycle in nature. Now, carbon is found on Earth in many forms. In its elemental form, it occurs as diamond and graphite. Carbon is also found as carbon dioxide in atmosphere. Carbon is also found as carbonate and hydrogen carbonate salts in limestone and other rocks and fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, natural gas, etc. In living organisms, carbon is present as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, nucleic acids, enzymes, and hormones. Endoskeleton and exoskeleton of various animals are also formed by carbon salts. Now, in this, we have studied about the various forms of carbon, how they are present on Earth in various human beings as well as in various animals and plants. It occurs naturally in the form of diamond and graphite. It is found in atmosphere in the form of carbon dioxide. Carbon is also found in as carbonate and hydrogen carbonate salts in limestone and other rocks and fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are coal, petroleum, natural gas, etc. In living organisms, carbon is present as carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, nucleic acids, and enzymes, as well as hormones. The endoskeleton and exoskeleton, that means outer body and internal body of animals, various animals, is formed of carbon salts. Consumption of carbon dioxide. Green plants use carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis and prepare carbohydrates. When animals feed on plant products, carbohydrate changes into animal carbohydrates. The dead plants and animals get buried deep, exchange changes into fossil fuels, that is coal and petroleum. Dissolved carbon dioxide in oceans and other water bodies form limestone and other carbonate rocks. Now students, this carbon dioxide is consumed by green plants. They use the carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis and they prepare carbohydrates. The animals, they feed on plant products and they change that carbohydrate into animal carbohydrates. Now, dead plants and animals that get buried deep into the sea, they are changed to fossil fuels. You know, coal is formed from dead plants and petroleum is formed from dead animals. Now, this dissolved carbon dioxide in ocean and other water bodies form limestone and other carbonate rocks. Now, next is release of carbon dioxide. That means how this carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. Plants and animals release carbon dioxide through respiration. Dead bodies, when decomposed, release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Combustion of fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, petrol, diesel, etc. give carbon dioxide. Volcanic eruptions and hot springs also release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That means how this carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. First is respiration, through respiration by animals and plants. Then the dead bodies, they are also decomposed to carbon dioxide And again, this carbon dioxide formed by is produced or released into the atmosphere through combustion of fossil fuels like coal, petroleum, petrol, diesel, etc. Now, volcanic eruptions and hot springs, they also release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, this is the carbon dioxide cycle, carbon cycle in the nature. Carbon dioxide in atmosphere, carbon is present in carbon dioxide, and then these are organic compounds, that means plants, they are converted into coal, and this carbon dioxide in atmosphere, the carbonates in water, it is converted to limestones. Similarly, the organic compounds of animal, it is converted to petroleum, and inorganic carbonates or the shells. When all these, they are through respiration and decomposition, they again release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. That means it is also in a cyclic form, and this is the carbon cycle in the nature. This carbon cycle in nature is given on page number 199 of your NCRT. The last topic of today's session is oxygen cycle. Oxygen cycle in nature maintains the level of oxygen in the atmosphere. Oxygen is very abundant in on the abundant element on the earth. It forms about 21% of the total air. Oxygen from the atmosphere is used up in three processes, that is combustion, respiration, and in the formation of oxides of nitrogen. Oxygen is returned to the atmosphere in only one major process, that is photosynthesis. Now we look at the diagram which is given on page number 200 of NCRT books. This is oxygen cycle in nature. Now it is in the cyclic form. This is atmospheric oxygen, O2. That means oxygen is present on earth in atmosphere in the form of O2. This is called oxygen gas. And through respiration and organic molecules, this is glucose molecule C6H12 and O6, and through the respiration process, it is converted into carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide again is used in the process of photosynthesis, and it again it gets converted back into the atmospheric oxygen. This is the oxygen cycle in nature. Now students, this is all about the elemental biogeochemical cycles. Now prepare one write-up from any one topic of this lesson, that is natural resources. That means you can choose any one topic, either on any pollution, that is air pollution, water pollution, or soil pollution, or any one cycle, biogeochemical cycle. But you have to draw a diagram also along with that. You have to prepare this write-up within a week. Submit this in main school. It should not exceed 3 sheets. Also include diagrams wherever necessary. Thank you so much for listening. Stay healthy and stay at your homes.